Good evening, everyone. I'd like to first off welcome everyone to the Rising Ninth Current Eighth Course Selection Evening. We just started the webinar, so we're going to give it a few minutes here to let everyone enter before we begin. All right, it looks like we've leveled out on our number of participants. So once again, I'd like to welcome everyone to this year's Rising Ninth Current Eighth Grade Course Selection Evening. My name is Dr. O'Sullivan. I am the principal of Penfield Middle School. Myself, as well as the representatives from Penndale and Pembroke, will be sharing with you the course selection process. We have about a half hour scheduled for this meeting, so it's going to be broken down where we're going to do little introductions and the guidance counselor are going to go through the course selection process. And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. With the Q&A, what we ask is all respondents, if you have a question, please type it in the chat. Within the chat, then we'll be able to see the question and we will either ask the question or a question will be responded to and an answer will be responded in the chat. There is the raise hand option. We ask that you not use that, as we are going to be using that, the chat feature to answer all of our questions. So at this time, let's just go around, starting by each school, beginning with Pembroke and introducing ourselves.
Good evening, families. My name is Nick Taylor, and I'm the interim principal of Pembroke Middle School.
Good evening, I'm Jesse Clancy. I am the guidance counselor over at Pembroke Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. Stefan Moeller, principal at Penndale Middle School.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good night. My name is Michael Flynn. I'm a school counselor at Penndale. We do things just a little bit differently at Penndale. So we have 4 counselors across the alphabet. If your student's name is A through F, last name A through F, Miss Wagner would be their counselor. G through L, I would be their counselor. M through R, Mr. Harvey would be their counselor. And S through Z, Miss Reichwein would be their counselor. It's great to see you guys tonight.
Hello, I'm Jill Conti. I am the current 8th grade counselor at Penfield Middle School.
All right, thank you, everyone. So what I'm going to do is, you give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to have the guidance counselors begin the presentation.
All right, welcome to class of 2028 Rising Ninth Grade Course Selection. It's good to see you guys. There you go. The graduation requirements we'll talk about first. In order to graduate from North Penn High School, students need a total of 23 credits. The credit requirements for mathematics and science are 7 total credits. So you need 4 of one and 3 of the other before you can graduate from North Penn High School. You need 4 English credits, 4 social studies credits, 3 or 4 math, as I said, 3 or 4 science. You need 2 arts and humanity credits, 0.9 health credits, 0.9 physical education credits, 4.2 elective credits, and that has to total 23. Most students will not have any issue at all getting to that number because most students can get 6.9 credits per year. All right, these are required courses for 9th grade. Some are required, these are all the required courses for 9th grade. English 9 is a required course. American History 2 is a required course. Their math is a required course, and students can be in one of multiple math in the sequence. Physical science is a requirement for 9th grade. Some students may need reading in 9th grade. Reading is something that chooses you. You do not get to choose reading, but if you need that intervention, you'll have a reading course. And there's English language learners as well. Most English language learners also have a reading built into their schedule. The required minor courses for 9th grade are physical education, health, and career readiness, each worth 0.3 credits. So the other requirement for graduation is the Keystone exams. There's 3 Keystone exams, one for Algebra 1, which most students will take in 9th grade, and then there's a biology and a 10th grade literature, which most students will take in 10th grade. These are the end of year course assessments for those classes. So there won't be exams other than those. They take the place of the final exam.
All right, so electives are the majors and minor classes that the student gets to choose, right? This is the fun part. You get to choose a little bit more. The basic general conception here is that there's 2 periods per day that the students need to fill with their electives. So that is going to be either a major, which is every day, or it can be minors, which are either most are cycling through 2 times per cycle, some are 4 times per cycle as well. They must choose either 2 majors or 1 major and a group of minors. So we can move to the next slide. These are the majors that we have to choose from. So in the yellow box are the majors offered at our middle schools. So those students would remain in our middle schools all day. Those are applying technology, art, intro to business, FCS, family consumer science. And then the world languages that we offer in our middle schools are French, German, Latin, or Spanish, levels 1 or 2. So if they're successful in Latin 1 this year, they can move to Latin 2 next year. Other options that are exciting for students in 9th grade are that you can start Japanese. So you could take Japanese 1 that's offered at North Penn High School, or you could also elect to start in the Science of Flight course, which is part of the JROTC program. That program has additional requirements, such as a uniform and some grooming requirements, but it is a Science of Flight course that can be taken. Those students that go to the high school, we're going to show you what that sample schedule will look like in a little bit, but they do start their morning a little earlier and then eventually end up in their middle school. Also, another option that you should be familiar with at this point, because we're almost winding down actually with applications, is North Monco Technical Career Center. If a student selects that as their major, that counts as 2 majors and fulfills all elective requirements as long as they're accepted. So we can move on to the minors. So the minors on the left, well, just in general, I will say that in 9th grade, you don't have to take a music anymore. So that is really good for those who don't want to take a music, but the other option is that you can take more music if you really are into music. So on the left, we have non-music courses, which are the technology minor, art minor, business minor, FCS minor, technical drawing and design, and theater arts. And then you can do band, chorus, or orchestra. You can elect for 2 periods per cycle, or you can up it and do 4 periods per cycle. 7th and 8th grade, just to give you an idea, 7th and 8th grade is 2 periods per cycle. So it would be an increase from what they're used to. If a student elects to do 4 periods per cycle of one of those, then they could take Foundation of Music Theory and Technology as well. You can also, not many kids do this, but you could do 2 of band and 2 of orchestra if you do 2 instruments, or 2 of chorus and orchestra, whichever you choose. Just those are options. But again, overall, you must pick at least 1 major and then a group of minors, or just two majors.
Good evening, everyone. I want to go through some sample schedules with you. Next year, we are returning to an 8 period per day format. We are going away from the block scheduling, so we're going back to 8 periods a day, which is what the schedules were before COVID. On the left, in the yellow, is a sample schedule of a student that spends their entire day at the middle school taking 2 elective majors. So I put up a sample schedule here for a student taking their required majors, English, history, algebra 1, and science. The required minors, which is 4th block, 4th period, phys ed, health, and career readiness. And then their electives, which are in bold, 3rd period and 8th period, Spanish 2 and FCS majors. So this is a student that has elected to take two majors in their schedule. You can see that they have pen time after 2nd period. That's a universal pen time for the entire school. So that's automatically built into the schedule. So that just gives you an idea of a student taking 2 majors. On the right-hand side is a student that has elected to take 1 major, which is German 2 in 3rd period, and then 3 minors. So a student that, wants to kind of mix up their electives. This student in fourth period has elected to take a cycle of art, family consumer science, and orchestra. So the nice thing about ninth grade is you can really specialize in something that you're interested in, or if you want to have a little bit more variety in your schedule, you can have a number of minors. On the right-hand side shows you, the student that chose the minors. Next slide will give you an example of students that go off campus, as part of their day. On the left-hand side is a student that is going to North Monco Technical Career Center. They start their day off at Pembroke or Penndale or Penfield, taking the required majors. So this student has to take English, they have to take algebra, they have to take history, they have to take science. Their elective periods are spent going to North Monco Technical Career Center. So they leave after pen time and go for third period and fourth period. So they'll be out of the building for about 2 hours, just from about 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and they arrive back to their home building in time for lunch, which is fifth period. So students that do want to go to North Monco, we'll go over the timeline for that, but it's a program that you have to apply to and be accepted into in order to attend in ninth grade. On the right-hand side is a student that wants to start their day off at North Penn High School, whether that's taking Japanese, the science of flight class, some students that elect to take, a higher level science or math, they'll start their day off at North Penn High School. So that means that they, will have to take the high school bus early in the morning, or get a ride with a lucky parent that wants to wake up super early and drive them to school, or get a ride with an older sibling or maybe a neighbor. They'll start their day off and have the first 2 periods at the high school. Then they'll board a bus that will return them back to their home building in time for pen time. And then the rest of their day from third period on will be spent at their middle school, taking the rest of the courses that are required. You can see that this student was able to fit in an elective major, which is Spanish. But hopefully that kind of can give you some, a view of what some schedules look like for our students, whether they take 2 majors, 1 major and a few minors, or if they're spending, their time at the high school for the morning or the tech school for a part of their day. Next slide, we'll just talk about the levels in ninth grade. This year and last year, students were in level 6 or the 6P class, the project class. In ninth grade, we're more aligned with the high school levels, which is a level 5, the academic level, and the level 6, which is honors. So just a little bit of a shift for ninth grade. And in this slide here, it just illustrates kind of what the differences are between a level 5 academic level and a level 6 honors. Teachers in English, history, math, and science have been making the recommendations for your students. You should be able to view that soon on Infinite Campus. If you have any questions about your child's level for next year, I would encourage you to have your child talk to their teacher, for you to email the teacher. You can also check in with us, the counselors. We can get that information for you. But the teachers are doing the recommendations to put your child in the best level for them, where they're going to be successful in ninth grade. So hopefully that slide can give you a little bit more information about what those levels can look like for ninth grade. Next slide just talks about all the course offerings. If you're looking for a detailed course description, you can go into the North Penn website. You select the school of North Penn High School, and you go to the Our School tab, and then the course selection tab below that, and the ninth grade offerings program of studies is located there, and that will give you a detailed description of all the courses available to students in ninth grade. If you have any questions about how to locate that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, but it's pretty easy to find on the North Penn High School website, under course selection. Next slide. Want to just remind families and students, if you're looking to go to North Monco Technical Career Center, the applications are due this week, guys. We've had those open for a few weeks now. There is, an application that is required to try to get into North Monco. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. But time is of the essence because they do have a number of applications that they have to process. In April, you will find out if your child was accepted into North Monco. And then there would be a new student orientation night in early May for students that do elect to go to North Monco for 9th grade. Next slide, I'll turn it back over to Ms. Conti to talk about the schedule.
Okay, so this is just our timeline of how we're working through this. So as Mr. Clancy said, our teachers have done their recommendations. They did that January, February. That's all done now. Student course selection assemblies have already occurred, I believe, in all of our buildings. And then the North Monco applications are due this week. So that is by the end of school Friday at 3 o'clock. So we're now moving into students making their selections. I think that looks a little bit different as far as the timeline for each building, but everything will be wrapped up, I'd say, in March, by the end of March, and then to mid-April maybe for Penndale. They have a lot more kids. But then April 30th is the one you want to keep in mind. That is the absolute deadline for any course changes. Okay, so nothing's changing after April 30th. So please, this is the time to start asking the questions, get it all nailed down so that we can help you out, and then no changes after April 30th. So if we want, we can open it up to Q&A. I didn't talk about alternates at all. Do you guys do those at Pembroke and Penndale as well?
We do, yeah. We strongly encourage students to pick alternate courses for their electives. We do everything that we can to give students their first choice, but with having anywhere from 900 to 1,400 students in the building, we can't guarantee that students are always going to get their first choice. So make sure that your student does have backups available and that they would be comfortable going into those courses if for some reason we weren't able to get them in their first choice.
Yeah, we do at Penndale as well. We'll probably send out a Google sheet for kids to fill out and say what they want as their alternates. And it's a really good idea, like Jesse said, to have them make sure they fill that out.
All right, so one of the first questions that we have here is, if a student course advances in the summer for physical science, what science do they take in 9th grade? Is this a course at the high school? And if yes, can they take that science course and JROTC both at the same time? So I think, Mr. Flynn, would you like to try and tackle that one?
Sure. If they course advanced physical science in 8th going to 9th, then they would take biology at the high school. Biology at the high school would have a lab assigned to it. So it would be biology, the lab, and then they'd take a PE and the health up at the high school as well. And then to go off the lab, they'd have a study hall too. So they'd have 2 minor subjects, PE and health, and then they'd have a lab for the biology class. And then they'd have, in addition to that, a study hall to couple up with the lab. And then students can be up there for 2 or 4 periods now. So if they were to take JROTC, that would depend upon scheduling at the high school, to be honest with you. That's something that you should probably contact your counselor specifically to see if it's a possibility. I can't say definitely yes or no right now. It's something we have to talk to the high school scheduling about.
All right. Another question is, and we're going to throw this to you, Mr. Clancy, is if a parent disagrees with the level that was suggested by the teacher, what steps do they have in possibly changing that?
Sure. I would always encourage the lines of communication to be open with the teacher. Your student's been in with the teacher for over half a year now. They've seen the work that they're producing, how they do in assessments, and the teacher knows kind of what's coming down the pike in 9th grade. So they're trying to set your child up for success in 9th grade. Ultimately, your child best. So if you disagree with that recommendation, and the teacher wants to stick with the recommendation, you do have the opportunity to override teachers' recommendations. Those override forms will be available later in the 3rd marking period. You can contact the guidance counselor to get more information about overriding teacher recommendation.
There are a few questions about North Monco, so I'm going to try and like cluster them all together. With this, I think the first one is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if a parent has a question about whether the application is received, they should contact the guidance department at their respective school, Brookdale or Field. Okay, correct. So if you have a question about applications, contact, the guidance counselor, the guidance department there. But then there are questions and where, it's two parts. One question is, what happens if a student doesn't get selected or to North Monco? So they apply and they don't get in. And I guess a follow-up with that is, should a student who is an 8th grade student, like, what should they do if they're applying to North Monco? Should they select all of their classes? Should they select minors also? If they, so we just want to know, obviously, if they get into North Monco, what is dropped? But if they don't get into North Monco, what classes will they take? So, I mean, it's open to anyone. So I know, Mrs. Conti, you want to take one part of that, Mr. Flynn another, we could tag team.
Yeah, I can take it. So if you apply at North Monco, that's your first choice. So that would be choice number one. And then when we talked about alternates or your backup plan, your second choice, that's where that's really important, because at this point, we don't know, right? We're not going to find out till probably mid to late April whether or not your student's accepted. So that's why we need a backup plan of what is this going to look like if your student's not accepted. So first choice is North Monco, second choice is just if you're staying at Penfield. So we need to know both of those things during this course selection period now. And I don't remember the second half of the question.
Can I piggyback on that real quick though? So
Yeah.
at Pendale, and this is just a little bit of a slight difference. At Pendale, we wouldn't have you put North Monco in. You would pick classes as if you weren't going to North Monco. And then if you got accepted to North Monco, we would take those classes out. So just when you're going into course selection, which we will be doing shortly, you'll be picking your classes, or your child will be picking their classes as if they were staying at Pendale. And then if they get into North Monco, we remove those classes and we put North Monco in.
So would it be safe to say that the student, as they're picking the courses, listen to the guidance counselor who's instructed them on what to do, and that you guys will give them very specific instructions? It's like, hey, if you're going to North Monco, we do this. If you're looking at JROTC, we look at that. If you're looking at taking courses at the high school, follow through with this. So I think just listening and taking guidance from the, obviously the guidance counselor who's going through course selection with them. Would that be safe to say?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Now, this is a second part of this, and I should have incorporated this one. The question is, if a parent, and similarly, if a kid's going to tech school, the question is, will they still be able to participate in band? So I'm guessing that would follow up to what you were saying, Mr. Flynn and Mrs. Conti, including that in your minor requirements, making sure that they have that, but then the parent and the student also having the conversation with the guidance counselor to make sure that they do get band as one of their minor courses if they're staying back here at school. Correct?
That would be correct as well.
All right. All right. I guess looking through here. I guess the question is, can course advanced students take biology and a language at the high school? So Mr. Clancy, you want to?
Yeah. Typically the students that go to the high school for biology would just be up there for 2 periods. They would be up there for first period for biology. Second period would be a mixture of biology lab, phys ed, health, and a study hall, and then they would return to their home school. And the hope would be to get the language in their building, their middle school. So they would just be up at the high school for 2 periods and then take the bus back, and we would try to get the language in at the middle school.
Thanks. A few questions about asking, when would parents be able to view the courses, and where will they be able to see them? Mr. Flynn, you want to try that one?
Sure. Parents can view it in their child's Infinite Campus account. Actually, they have an academic plan in there that you can go into and look at their course, what their courses that they chose and what courses they were recommended for by their teachers. But it's only on the child's account, and it's underneath academic plan in their account.
And then the recs you should be able to view the recs around the beginning of the 3rd marking period. Correct?
Well, the recommendations they should see as soon as it opens up the academic planner. Once the academic planner is opened up so we can go in with the kids and pick their courses, that'll show the recommendations as well. They'll just be locked, so they can't make changes to them.
I'm seeing the date that opens is April 18th, where they go live, course requests go live.
Right. That would be post academic planner. That would
Right.
be after they make their selections and then we show them what they have. That's in the backpack usually. But before that, they can see the recommendations from their teachers in the academic planner, which will be while we're in the class. It's supposed to be while we're in the classroom.
So if a
Gotcha.
parent wants to see the recommendations now, they have to go into their child's academic planner. However, if they want to wait until everything is done, it's as Mr. Mueller said, the 18th, everything will then be rolled over, then be in the backpack, which parents will have access to themselves to be able to view just like they had in 7th grade and 8th grade, correct?
Yep.
All right. So I'm looking at the time. We've got time for a few more questions. I've seen a couple people, typing answers in there. I did see one in here. Somebody asked, I think it was other than biology and a language, can students take any other classes at the high school?
Yes.
I could, yeah, they
Yeah,
can
go
take
ahead, yes.
Japanese, and the science of flight. Those are the two elective ones. And then there's some students that are choosing to take a biology class by course advancement, or students that are currently in Algebra 2 in 8th grade that need to take pre-calculus, and pre-calculus is not offered at the middle school. So they need to go up to the high school to take the pre-calculus class.
I would also say this, I'm seeing a couple of people like looking in to see their child's recs now, and they're not able to see them. I think as Mr. Flynn said, once they go live for the kids, they have not gone live yet for the students. I believe they do go live either tomorrow or later this week, so that you can't see them now. But if you're not able to view them tomorrow or Friday or later next week, please just reach out to your child's guidance counselor and they would be able to assist you as best as they can. So I'm just looking in here. I guess a question is coming up and it's the specific. So if a student can go to the high school for 2 periods and 4 periods, correct? And I think we showed a schedule for a student who is up at the high school for 2 periods. Am I correct on that, Mr. Clancy?
The schedule I had put up was a student up there for 2 periods.
Okay. So if a
And it's
student
my
was up there
understanding
for
that
4
it's
periods, what would
yeah,
that-
it's something that we're working with the high school on, whether the students could be up there for 3 periods or 4 periods. We're just trying to get the timing down for busing. So if they have to stay up for a 3rd period or a 4th period, it kind of depends on what the high school schedule looks like next year and the busing situation. So it's to be determined, I would say. It's not finalized just yet.
All right. I guess in looking at this and looking at the time and in closing, I don't know if there's any other, words of wisdom the guidance counselors would like to share with parents, as we're going through this process, some things that we might not have covered here that you think would be good for them to know, as we're looking at this course selection, as parents are selecting courses for their child's first year of high school, is there anything that you would like them to know or anything that you guys have seen through the experience that you all have here that they just want to be on the lookout for?
So I can go first on that one. I would say what you just said is a big one, Sean. Even though the 9th grade is housed at the middle school, it's still the first year of high school. And for some students, that gets lost a little bit, I think, because of where they're going to school. But it's really important to take 9th grade seriously because it is the first year that goes on your transcript. And for a lot of cases, it's one of 3 years that colleges see. If you're going for early admissions or even if you're not, most transcripts will be most important in the first 3 years. So just when you're talking to your students, remind them, and we'll remind them too. But 9th grade is really an important year, and it's your first year on your transcript.
I would just say that the 9th grade year is really exciting because students have more choice in their schedule. It's their opportunity to explore interests, to try a couple of classes that they really want to pursue. And then when they get up to the high school, they really have even more options available to them. So 9th grade is a great opportunity for students to kind of start honing in on things that they're interested in. So take advantage of that.
And I don't want to cut you off, Mrs. Conti, but I know we've run out of time, and I do apologize because, myself, and the other two principals have to go to the next course selection night for our rising, eighth grade students. So once again, we'd like to thank all families for joining us this evening. We do appreciate you taking time out of your busy days. Just as a reminder, like, this is being recorded, so this recording will be sent out to all families at Brookdale and Field. Hopefully by the end of the week, the principals will decide how that's done. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us. If you have a specific question, please feel free to reach out to your guidance counselor, Mr. Clancy, Ms. Conti, or Mr. Flynn. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great evening.